Then this text, my body of my letter, the body of my letter is really messed up. When you look at this body of this letter, it is messed up with a lot of reds, blues, and possibly yours might be including green. You need to know the meaning. The reds are normally used to indicate spelling mistakes. Alright? And the blues indicate punctuation errors. Then same might apply to green. For our case, we have blue and red. That means I have punctuation errors and spelling mistakes. So our alignment in the body is not good enough. It is really making a zigzag on the right side, alright, which we don't want to appear like. So what we need to do is to ensure that our text touches both left and right margins. Which alignment shall we use? If your answer is justified, then you're on the right track. So all you need to do is to highlight it, highlight what you need to be flashing with the left and the right margins, and then click at the align justified or press Ctrl plus letter J. And your text flashes with both the left and the right margins. Then next we would wish to ensure that we get rid of all spelling mistakes. One thing that we would love to start with is using the shortcut key combination. Okay, so the shortcut menu enables you to get rid of all possible mistakes. It is quite easy. All you need to do is to point at the word that you want to correct and then right click at it using the right mouse button. Place at it once. And it should be able to give you a shortcut menu from which you have suggestions of different words that you intended to work with. However, if the word that you need to write or correct is not part of this collection, you have an option of ignoring it. That means the reds will go off, however, it will not be corrected. Then we have an option of adding it to dictionary, and we can also use the autocorrect. There are names like African names, like Sserunkuma. It's not an English name. However, it is part of the Christian names now. We have names, special names, that are not known in the Western world, or they are not that much used in the Western world. So such names are more likely to appear with red lines. But if you're sure that this is the spelling, you have an option of right-clicking at it, and then you add it to dictionary. So it becomes part of the dictionary. Whenever I need to use it in this system, it will not bring the red lines again. Alright, so let us now proofread our document line by line to get rid of all spelling mistakes. TH is supposed to be the 13th December 2022. So TH, we don't expect to see a space between the 3 and the T. Okay? And this one is supposed to be a superscript. So all we need to do is to highlight it and then we make it a superscript. You click at this button for superscript, and it's elevated on top. Okay, let me just zoom so that we can see clearly what we are doing. The zoom tool I've used is this. Okay, you have an option of clicking at it and then move it left and right to get a clear view of what you are doing. Then we need to make sure that this is the T and H are really corrected. So we don't expect to see this gap between the 3 and the T. Put your cursor between there and press the backspace key. On your keyboard, this is the backspace key. Put your cursor there and press the keyboard. So that mistake is corrected. We go to the second mistake, is Nkumba. Nkumba is an African name, and it is right. So all we need to do is to add it to our dictionary. Right click at it, and then add it to dictionary. However, there are other ways of doing the same thing. One of the ways, we have already seen one way of right clicking. We can as well use the function buttons on your keyboard. The function buttons on your keyboard, let me see whether I can activate these on my keyboard. Oh, they're not there. Alright. So on your keyboard, all you need to do is to move your eyes on top of these characters. Just move your eyes on top. You should be able to see characters that have F1, F2, F3. They are actually on top of your physical keyboard. Those are the characters that we are interested in. We are going to press the character of F7. F7, whenever you press F7, you are calling upon a function for proofreading or grammar and spelling errors. It's going to check for all possible errors in your document. And it has landed on the first one, which is Nkumba. It gives you different options, whether you can ignore it, ignore all that have the same spelling, or we can add to dictionary. So I'm selecting add to dictionary because it's the right name and it is added to our dictionary. The next is PO box. PO, is it there among these? These are the suggestions. So we needed to use PO box. So sometimes your system might not necessarily give you the right figures. So I say PO box, and then I click at resume. So it reads through and lands on the next one. The statement says, I write to your office to in request. Now look at this, to in request. This does not make sense. I write to your office in request. Right? So the two at times, it is because this is not a mistake. It is not a spelling mistake. The system might not recognize it. So you have to have that ability to identify or proofread or read through your document to ensure that it makes sense. Delete that. So I write to your office in request to apply for the position of supervision to my fellow workers, not to my fellow row workers. So this one is not okay. So to my fellow workers. So you realize that I have a number of suggestions there. And among these suggestions, there is none that fits, not co-workers. Okay, so I have my fellow workers. RO goes away, and I click at resume. So I have this, I am competent, but before that you realize that the whole statement has not been corrected. So I have this, and then I click, I remove that, delete it, space my fellow workers, and I am, there's another error there. So I intended to write my fellow workers, full stop. I am, alright? So I leave some space and say I am competent. So I need to select, right click and select competent. I'm a competent Ugandan, not Uganda, but Ugandan. With a competent Ugandan and a hardworking, so I would rather say I am a competent, hardworking Ugandan. Alright? So you realize that there are a number of things that you need to work with. As long as you're working with paragraphs, there are a number of things that you need to keep checking. So we have, I'm a competent, hardworking Ugandan. So I select hardworking. Okay, and then I am going to use the function of copy and paste. Copy and paste moves or duplicates. Copy and paste duplicates the selected word to a new location. So when I press copy, I make sure that I'm in home tab and I select copy. Then position the cursor where I want the new duplicate to be. I am a competent, hardworking, there, Ugandan. So I select paste, and the statement changes meaning. I am a competent, hardworking Ugandan and a member of staff of this institution. So I select the whole of this and a member of staff. So I select this hardworking, delete it out, and I write the word member of staff of this institution. Alright, so my leadership skills, I have mistake there, and the institution has a mistake too. So I click at resume, maybe resume there. So it reads through and this statement does not make meaning. So I intended to write institution and I click at change. So that mistake, the space that was existing between the institution and the dot really disappears. My leadership skills, and this does not make sense. My leaders hip. Okay, so we just need to say my leadership. Delete that. My leadership skills, okay, are, so that one goes, are good enough to do it, to enable. All right, so this one is also not there, to enable. Okay, so there's something we would also now need to understand about how to use the backspace and the delete key. I want us to see this before we carry on. When I use a backspace, and I position my cursor there, and I press the backspace key, this backspace key is going to delete content going to the left of the insertion cursor. So when I click at it, it deletes everything on its left. However, when I click at delete, it deletes everything that is on the right side of the insertion cursor. That's the difference between the delete and the backspace key. Delete and the backspace. Delete deletes something on the left of the insertion cursor, and the delete deletes anything that is on the right side of the insertion cursor, and the backspace key deletes anything that is on the left side of the insertion cursor. Okay, so we want to say my leadership skills are good enough to enable me take on this task. Okay, so we have already seen the use of copy and paste. Let us now also know how to use cut and paste. We want to cut this selected S to a new position between A and S. So I click at cut, and the text is cut out of the original position. I want to position it between A and K. Click at that position and select at paste. So the text kind of changes the location to another location that I have positioned my cursor to. And this gives us room to keep on editing our text to make a reasonable meaning. Alright, so we click at resume. Maybe I press my cursor somewhere there and I click at it. So the system is going to resume from where my cursor is. So it reads through and the system detects that there is an error there. All I need to do is to click at the suggestion and click at change. And then this one is supposed to be I am well. Okay, non-veil. So it's supposed to be a W. Well versed, or I have enough exposure, or can as well say I have been a leader. Okay, I have been a leader, and all this is going to be displaced. Okay, so I select all that I want to displace and I simply begin typing. So when you simply begin typing, as long as the text is selected, the text that you are beginning to type is going to displace the text that is existing. So I would rather say I have, you see, it has just disappeared. Okay, displaced by the new text that I'm typing. I have been a leader before with the, okay, so press the delete key, with good communication skills. Okay, so this is supposed to be good. When I click at it, I realize that on the right it has a number of suggestions, but I want good, not cook. So right click at it, same issue. So I would rather say I with good, G, with good. Okay, so that one is now okay. So with good communication skills. Okay, I believe with your, I believe, comma, with your approval and appointment. So I'll select that. I will be, okay, I will be, or I will enable. I think that's what we needed to type. So I will enable, my fellow workers deliver as expected. And I say yours in service. Alright, so we have our document just good enough for print. But before we print out, we realize that this text is really flashing with the right margin. We would wish this text to be flashing. We should be able to remain as it is, but aligned left. Alright, we want to stay with this text as it is, aligned left, but we want to indent it so that it goes up to this level. There are two ways of doing that. One of the ways is to use these buttons. This is to increase indent, so you select the text first and then you click at the increase indent. Click at it. You just keep on pressing it. It will push the text inwards until it reaches your point. You realize that it is left in alignment of left, but it is indented. Alright, that is one way of indenting. Another way, I'm undoing. Click undo. Another way of indenting is pressing Ctrl plus letter M. So whenever I press Ctrl, hold it and press letter M. Press Ctrl. Ctrl is Ctrl key on your keyboard, which appears at the bottom left corner of so this one. You press that and then press letter M. So whenever I press letter M, it kind of goes on to indent. However, you can as well outdent or undo. Undo is Control, press Control key, hold it, and then press letter Z. Okay, Control plus letter Z. That's the undo. It's a shortcut key for undo. So Control letter Z, Control letter Z, Control letter Z. But if you want to go back for the redo, you press Control and letter Y. Control letter Y, Control letter Y. That is for the redo button. Undo is Control plus letter Z. Alright, so that is another way of doing something called or known as indenting. Another way is to use the ruler. A ruler is one object that is appearing on top, though now it is not visible. If your application does not make it visible, then where do we get it from? You click at view because we want to view a window. We want to view an object. So click at view. We want to see something that is not visible on our screen. Click at view and select ruler. So when you click at the ruler, it's going to enable you to indicate where your margins start and stop. The gray are the spaces between the edge and the starting of the text, which is the margin. Okay, and the white is the enclosure of our text where the text will be. This feature is common and it is one of the features that is on the old typewriters. It was adapted to help in instructing where the margins stop and they start. So we want to use the ruler to indent. You highlight the text that you want to indent and then you realize that there are 3 holders. And when you hold the middle one, not the bottom, not the top is going to move the first text. When I click at the top, it will only move the first text. Okay? It will not move the rest of the text. Alright? And when I click at this, you realize that the entire margin is going to shift. I'll be almost moving the entire margin. Okay? However, that one is applicable to the selected text. Suppose my text is nothing is selected of my text, and I click at this. It will ensure that the entire text is actually going to be affected. Where your cursor is really affected. And when I select everything and I move this, it's going to affect the entire document. So I click at I select the text that I want to be able to move, and then I move the top holder so that I flash it with that where I need it to be. So it's one way of moving my text. So realize the other text has remained in its original position, but when it comes to this, you realize that the margin holder, the first line indent, has already moved it to the right side, and our document is good enough for print.